Hello everyone, my name is Kevin and today in our third lesson of the Hug 360 Chess Club, we will be talking about removing the guard. In chess, there are many reasons to guard our pieces, whether if it is to defend them from a piece of the opposing side or to give backup to a square to execute a plan. This problem will help you better understand the concept of removing the guard. In this problem, it's white to move, and we could see that white can take the black queen on b2. But if we go ahead and do that, we could see that the rook on b8 can take our queen on b2. So we just basically exchanged our white queen for their black queen. So there's no gain when we do this. The goal of this problem is to gain the black queen on b2 without having to exchange it for our white queen on e5. How do we do this? Well, as I said earlier, the rook on b8 can take our white queen if we take the black queen on b2. So the rook is guarding the black queen, or you could say that the rook is guarding the b2 square. This is when the concept of removing the guard comes in. We need to remove this rook away from that position. For example, if the black rook goes to a8, there's nothing that defends the black queen on b2, so we could just take it. So we need to find a way to remove the rook on b8 so we could take the black queen on b2 without having to worry about our queen getting taken as well. So if we look at the arrangement of our pieces and black's pieces, we notice that the black king is completely trapped in the 8th row, as our white queen guards the squares g7 and g8, so the black queen cannot move to these squares. And if we move our rook here, then it will technically be a checkmate if this black rook wasn't here. So that gives us a hint. What I said earlier is, if we move our white rook on c1 to c8, it would technically be a checkmate if the black rook wasn't there. Well, we see that if we move it here, then it would be a checkmate, but the black rook is the only thing stopping it. So since the black rook is the only thing, or the only piece stopping the white rook from checkmating the black king, the black rook is the only piece that has to take action. So the only way that black, in other words, the only way that black can prevent itself from getting checkmated and losing the game is to move its black rook on b8. And it does that by taking the white rook on c8 to prevent that checkmate. And since the black rook moved to c8, we remove the guard from its position as it used to be on b8 and defend the b2 square. So we have removed the guard from its position, and now we can use our queen to take their queen on b2 without having to worry about that rook taking our queen in the process. So now let's move on to our examples. In our first problem, we could see that it's black to move, and our goal is to capture the white queen on e2 through removing a guard. Before I let you do the problem, I'm gonna give you a hint. The hint is we need to remove the guard that's guarding the white queen on e2 through a double threat. We learned double threats in our last lesson, so remember what a double threat is. Good luck. Okay, now that you've given the problem some thought, here's the solution. What I told you was that we need to remove the guard and capture the white queen on e2 through a double threat. Well, first, we need to identify the guards of the white queen on e2. In other words, we need to identify what pieces are protecting that square, the e2 square. And if we look at white's pieces, we could tell that only white's king is protecting the white queen on e2. No other piece can reach to the e2 square. So now that we know what the guard is, we need to find a way to remove it. And in our second hint, the second hint I gave you guys was we need to do that through a double threat. And if we were to make a double threat, we need to make two threats in a single move. So if we look at our pieces, only the black rook, remember it's black to move, only the black rook can threaten the white king because we need to remove the white king because it's the guard, and only the black rook can threaten that white king. And that happens by moving it to g1. And if we do that, it's technically a double threat because our black rook is threatening it's a check, and the black queen, our black queen on h5 is threatening to take the white queen on e2. Now, this may seem like a bad move since we're just giving away our pieces, but since it's a check, the white queen cannot take our black queen on h5. The white queen has to the white king has to take our rook on g1 because it's under attack. It can't move anywhere else, so it has to take our black rook on g1. And once it does that, it loses control over the square e2, and it gives us a chance to take the white queen on e2 without having to worry about our black queen getting taken as well. So now it's time for our next problem. Now to our last and final problem. In this problem, it's white to move, and our goal for white is to take both of black's rooks on d5 and a8 by sacrificing only one of our rooks. Since this problem is a bit complicated, I'm going to give you a reasonable amount of hints, I guess. So, the first hint is the piece that you need to take first is the rook on d5. And the guard that you need to remove is the queen on f7. So, try to solve this on your own, and I'm going to give you a couple seconds. Good luck. So, now that you've given the problem some thought, here's the answer. The hints I gave you was the first piece, or the first rook that you're going to take is the rook on d5. And the guard that you're going to remove is the queen on f7. Well, what white piece can we move to remove this queen from its position? Well, we could see that none of our pieces can make a single move to attack the black queen on f7 other than either moving our queen by taking the rook on d5, and that makes a threat to the black queen, but that's not a good move because then we're just giving away a free queen. So the other way to threaten the black queen and force it to move away from its position is to move our white rook on e1 to e7. And once we do that, then the black queen is forced to take the white rook, because if it moves somewhere else without taking the white rook, its own rook on d5 is still going to get taken. So it would just rather just take our white rook on e7. And once it does that, everything just kind of becomes clear from this point. Since the guard, which is the black queen, loses control over the black rook on d5, we are free to use our queen to take that, and that causes a fork or a double threat. And since we're checking the king and attacking the other black rook on a8 at the same time, black needs to move its queen away or defend it, so it would do something like moving its king to probably h8, and then we could just take the black rook on a8. And if I put every piece back in place before the problem, we could see that we lost our white rook, but in the end we gained both of black's rooks, and this gives us a rook. So that's it for the lesson, and the homework will be in the PDF as always, and make sure to do it. Have a great weekend.